what you want from me. I'll give you everything, all that and more you'll see. Just stay right here with me. Love is not fiction, but this time the story's about a king and a queen will pretend to be with paper crowns.
So the steering wheel of the 2017 Camaro 1LE is pretty nice. It's a little smaller than most wheels. Average 10 and 2 grips and 9 and 3. And it's got a flat bottom, which is kind of interesting. But overall it's a pretty good wheel with some cruise controls, Bluetooth, and some radio controls. And the seats of the Camaro are actually pretty comfortable. I'd say they hug you in about as much as an average seat, and they're good for long trips. And moving on to the gauges. The gauges are pretty nice. They're pretty easy to see. White font that's lit up, as well as red lines as the accents. It's also got a screen with your trip information as well as the miles and your fuel. It's a pretty nice screen, but overall it's a standard set of gauges. The climate control is pretty simple interface. It's actually kind of cool. You get to spin the whole vent, and that's how you change the temperature and as well as the fan speed. The controls are pretty intuitive, and the radio screen is pretty easy to use as well. It's a touch screen. It has reasonable responsiveness, and we tested the audio quality, and it was pretty average for this year, but overall pretty good. And the screen is a good size. It's about an 8-inch screen. Interior overall is pretty good quality. The plastics aren't too soft, a little bit harder plastics. And it's really nice black interior color, as well as a leather on the dashboard, a little concave shape, really sleek. And you got the glove box, which has about an average amount of space, and the center console is pretty sad. It's hardly any space. You could probably fit like one chapstick in there, but the armrest itself is pretty firm but comfortably placed, and a good spot to rest your arm while you're driving. You can still reach the steering wheel while your elbow's on the rest. As far as trunk space, it's not very good. I think it was like, what was it, 9 cubic feet? So we could fit like a suitcase and a half in there, or maybe a couple duffel bags. Not the best. And the back seat is unusable as well. With the front seat all the way back, it's touching the rear seat, so there'd be no legroom. But a lot of people like to put the seats down. They do fold down, so you can just have a larger cargo space. That's what a lot of people can do, and that will be helpful. Now for the visibility of the Camaro. That's one of its weaker points. For the most part, you can't see out front very well because we have to kind of set up higher. The dashboard and speedometer area, that rises up into your field of vision. And the A pillars, they aren't too bad. They're not in your way. But the B pillars, those are obstructing your view a little bit, and the rear window is very small. And the C pillar basically blocks all of your views, so your blind spot is pretty prevalent. And then the worst part is the rear visibility. It's a very small rear windshield there. But fortunately, with the 2017 model, it comes with a backup camera and pretty decent side mirrors. So you can use those to get by, but definitely have to be a little extra careful when changing lanes in the highway. Oh, and driving this, I like it. It's pretty good pull as far as acceleration goes. It's got about 275 horsepower, around 300 torque. I'll look at those figures later. But the throttle response is actually better than I expected it would be with this turbo car, and you get a lot of pull at lower RPMs, but then after about $5,000 it kind of dies off. And first gear pulls aren't very effective. We found that when you get to second gear, that's when it pulls really hard, really good on the acceleration runs. The clutch engagement in this car, it's actually really easy to use. I'd say it's probably good for a beginner to learn on this. It's a little towards the top is when the clutch engages. The shifter, it's relatively notchy, but also smooth and easy to find what gear you want to be in. To go in reverse, you just pull it over to the left and double click it, and then put it forward. So yeah, it's a good shifter. It's got a good feel to it. Shakes a little bit when you're moving, but that's not anything that would bother me. This car takes premium fuel, but it also gets 20 to 30 miles per gallon, and we're actually averaging about 25 on this trip of ours. We've been stuck in traffic for a while. Oh, there's a police officer. Stand by. Oh, what is that? Hey, maybe we'll get some good footage of this fire thing. I like how you can use a GPS and see where the corners are going to be. It's like a map on a race game. Shift's nice and smooth. I actually like this gearbox quite a bit. I like it almost as much as my Honda Civic gearbox. A little taller gears, so you can shift a little bit later than you're used to. And a little bit of body roll, not as much as I thought. But it feels a little heavier going around the corners. A little more nimble than the SS would be. It's got a smaller 2-liter lighter engine up front. Grips the road pretty nicely. It's got a low center of gravity. Surprisingly good handling on these corners. No idea what the speed limit is on this road. We got 3.5 miles. BT's keeping up with us now.